Good afternoon and welcome to a webinar from Linköping University. Today we're going to learn more about our program in ethology and animal biology. I'm here with a professor, an alumni and a student, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves in just a few moments. But first I've got a few housekeeping things I'd like to take up. Have a look at the bottom of your screen. There's a Q&A function. Put your questions in there and we'll answer them after we've had our talk. We'll talk for about 20-25 minutes about the program and the student experience. And then we'll open up for questions. You can also put the questions in the Q&A if you're watching this recording. And those questions will be forwarded to us at a later date. The webinar is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube and on our website later on. Right, my name is Therese Winder. I'm a communications officer here at Linköping University, and I'm here with, let's start with you.
Matthias Lasker. I'm professor of zoology and the coordinator for the master's program, Applied Ethology and Animal Biology.
Cool.
My name is Rebecca. As Therese mentioned, I'm an alumnus of the program, and I'm currently working as a research assistant at Linköping University.
Yes, and my name is Ellen, and I am a student here at the Applied Ethology program.
Okay, great. You're second year student.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's start talking a bit about the actual program. So we'll start with you, Matthias. Why do we offer this program, and how did it come about?
There are at least two important aspects, and they are welfare and conservation. So if we as a society want to provide the best possible welfare to animals, whether it's farm animals or zoo animals or laboratory animals or pet animals that we have at home, then of course we need knowledge about the animal behavior. And the other aspect is conservation. We all are painfully aware that more and more animal species are threatened by extinction. And again, if we want to provide suggestions to the politics, for example, for the most efficient or best conservation measures, then again we need to know about the behavior of the animals that are threatened.
Okay. So you studied the program a few years ago.
Yes.
What made you choose this program?
So I did a bachelor's in general biology, so anything from molecular biology all the way to ecology. It was a really, really good base program, and that really sparked my interest in animals, in conservation, and I just really wanted to learn more about the natural world and also how to protect it. And the reason I chose this program specifically because I realized that I wanted to focus on animals. I wanted to focus on their behavior, on the complexities of the behavior. So this was really just what I wanted. And luckily, the choice was not too difficult because there are not that many programs in Europe for applied ethology. And yeah, I landed on this program and I obviously read all of the information about it. And the thing that really cemented it for me was the cooperation between Linköping University and the Kolmården Zoo. So this program was very, very practical, very, very close cooperation with the zoo, which really provided that hands-on experience that I really, really wanted.
Okay. And what about you?
For me, it actually started way before. I have also done a bachelor in general biology, and even before this, in my high school, we had a program called Linnéadagar, and you go away for a couple of days and you do a bunch of biology-related things, and one of those was that you went to Linköping University and they gave some lectures about the university, and we had a course on something as well, or some lectures. And I got to know about the program through that. And even before that, I was always interested in biology in general. So for me, that was kind of why I decided to go to Linköping specifically, because what they said to us was very interesting to me. And we also got to know about the Kolmården collaboration, and that it was very practical. And especially in the masters as well, that you have the possibility to go on a trip to a rainforest, and you get to do a lot of things and see a lot of things.
So again, it's not just theory. You don't just sit in the classroom. You're actually more hands-on within your studies. Let's have a look at the program structure, because it's a 2-year program. First year is focus on classroom work, basically lectures, and here we got a slide here. Talk us through the first semester.
Yes, so we have 4 courses. We start with a course called Applied Ethology, where the students get to know and apply the tools that they need for recording and analyzing animal behavior, on top of course, getting first theoretical background of ethology. But first you need to get the tools. Well, what actually do I record when I observe animals, and how do I later on process these data to get some information out of those data? So this is what this first course is mainly concerned about, and it already includes, of course, practicals, which goes through all the courses, by the way.
And this is, when it says 7.5 credits, that's roughly 5 weeks, isn't it?
4 weeks.
Is it a 4-week course?
Yeah.
So these, in total, you're looking at 30 credits, which is 1 semester.
Mm-hmm.
So it's split into 4 parts.
Exactly right.
The next one.
Yeah. The title already gives it away, Stress and Animal Welfare. Well, if we want to learn about welfare of animals, then of course stress is one of the core phenomena that we need to understand. And again, as animals can not talk in the way that we do right now with each other, we have to find ways to figure out how animals experience stress and when they encounter stress, and hopefully to find ways to alleviate stress. So all these aspects are covered in that course, again including practicals. So we really put big emphasis on not only classroom activities or working at home, but to apply the things.
Okay, and have you got an example of how you apply it?
Well,
What
why
would
don't
do?
you step in on that?
Well, I can start with the very first course. So we went through basically a lot of different methods that you can use to measure behavior, because obviously you can't just record it and be like, oh, this is what's happening. You have to write it down, and then you have to analyze it and then say, statistically, this is what's happening. And so we learned a bunch of different methods, and we actually went into the field to try those out. So we went to a farm, and this was focused more on farm animals, but we worked with chickens, we worked with cows, we worked with dogs, and we essentially practiced the same things that we learned in the classroom. And I can say that this is true pretty much throughout the whole of the courses. So for the stress one, we focused like on heart rate or maybe on cortisol levels, and we always had some laboratory work or field work that accompanied the lectures.
Yeah, I mean, that has been my experience as well, being in it currently. We have definitely done a lot of using the methods that we have been taught to do, and also to do different forms of statistical tests on these as well. And yeah, I think since we have gone through the same, I think we have a very similar experience in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
It's very good. And then the next 2 courses, animal cognition and behavior genetics.
Yes, animal cognition actually is a novel course that will run for the first time from Monday on. And we have a new staff member whose expertise fortunately falls into the area of animal cognition. And again, that connects very closely to the program, because animals have different cognitive abilities and also cognitive demands. If you think of captive animals, animals are smart in one way or another. And of course, for good welfare, it's necessary to address these cognitive needs, that an animal has to do something to interact with, to play with, and things like that. And that course will dig into this. Then behavior genetics. Of course, any behavior that animals and we humans perform has a genetic basis, or is at least influenced by genetics. And in this course, this connection between genes and behavior is looked into.
Okay. So that's the first semester, and these courses are all assessed through, is it exams, or do you hand in reports, or how do you assess these courses?
Why don't you answer?
For my experience, it was a little bit of a mix of both. We had online exams, they were open book, a lot of them, and it's just like a normal exam, but you're doing it from home, essentially. Then we also had a mix of just hand-ins. So
Writing an essay.
yeah,
for
exactly.
example.
Essays, different lab reports. So it was I think it was a pretty well-balanced mix of doing a bit of everything, and I think they have pros and cons to both of them. But I'm glad we got to do both.
Yeah. But no exams for this first semester? As in lectures sitting in a big exam hall and you have the traditional exam for the first semester?
I think it's a home exam in
Yeah,
some
I mean,
courses.
we
yeah.
did not have any.
Yeah.
So
So
first. Okay. Right. Second semester. There's another 3 courses. And then we'll move on to the degree project. But the first 3 courses, explain a bit more about them.
Yeah. So zoo biology is to a large part taught at Kolmården Wildlife Park. And so there the students really get the opportunity to learn from experts that live and work in the zoo world, as we call it. How a zoo is run, what you have to consider when designing an enclosure, how to prepare and keep genetic diversity to avoid inbreeding. One of the coolest things, I think, is that the students in small groups have the chance to shadow and follow the zoo veterinarian. Because that's also part. If you keep animals under human care, then of course you need to provide medical care for the animals. And there are a lot of unexpected or not plannable things happen. So a couple of years ago, one group of students was lucky enough to literally witness the birth of a baby rhino.
Oh, wow.
Another year, a tiger had to be anesthetized because it had a foul tooth, which need to be extracted.
Did you
so
experience any of these?
Yes, I do think the zoo biology course is probably like the highlight of the courses, because you do get to live at the zoo for a certain amount of time. So you get to experience the behind the scenes like you couldn't in any other context. Because obviously when you go to a zoo, they give you information about the conservation work they do and everything, but it is a very, very different experience to see it from their eyes. And you see exactly like unpredictable things that happen, like a birth or some animal needs to be taken care of. And you really get to shadow and you get to see these animals, sometimes up close, sometimes from further away. But also it leads to very, very interesting discussions that I'd never considered before, like ethical discussions and like what is important for a zoo to have for the animals, where is the line, like how can we constantly improve like the conditions the animals are in, what works in conservation and how zoos can contribute to it. It really, really was the like highlight course for me, I would say.
Great. I definitely agree with you. I mean, I had this course just the other year. And I definitely agree that it is the highlight. It has some very tough aspects to it, like you are living in the zoo for roughly a month. And you have to be there, you have to be with other people, you need to take care of each other. And you get to do these very interesting things and see a lot behind the scenes. I personally did not get to see a birth or anything, but it would have been very cool.
Yes.
But we did get to see a lot of the behind the scenes training that they do for medical necessities. And I think that is very, very interesting to look at how much they are working with the animals and how gentle this approach is. And yeah, I think it was an extremely good course and probably definitely the highlight of it.
It sounds fun.
Opinion.
Yeah, I can imagine. So the next course is not going to
Yes.
match this one, but it's an important
in
course.
a way it does. So the very long and spurry name, Case Studies in Conservation and Sustainable Development. The interesting thing about this course is that it's read together with our other master's program in Ecology and Sustainable Development. So here the students from both programs are presented with case studies, with problems that they are supposed to solve. For example, there is human-animal conflict, that elephants are permanently raiding crop fields. How can you find a solution for that? And reading this course together from an ethological point of view and an ecological point of view leads to very interesting discussions, because you will be surprised how different angles and approaches ecologists and ethologists might suggest to come up with a solution.
That's really good. I mean, I think that's a really good example of what we are good at here at Linköping University, this cross-disciplinary approach to a problem or a situation.
Exactly.
And then you have primate ethology.
Yes.
So, is that where you get to play with monkeys? Yeah.
Well, I happen to be in charge of that course, as I was lucky enough to do research on primates for more than 30 years now. And so again, we spend a week at Kolmården and do observations and even small experiments with the primates kept there. And as primates are our closest relatives, of course, that leads automatically to a number of questions: how human language evolved, how our communication skills evolved, what are the differences and commonalities between us and them, if there is such an us and them at all.
Are there more differences or are there more commonalities?
Well, that depends. This is almost a philosophical question, which the students get aware of.
What do you think?
I think it all depends on the context of the discussion, because obviously we are humans, we are animals, so in that sense we're very similar to primates. But obviously if we compare how we humans live in society with technology and all of these things, then we are very different. So I would say it fully depends on context.
You agree? Yeah. So these are that's the kind of end of the taught courses within the program. And then so you've done this and then you're in about April, May of your first year. You then start looking at your degree project before the summer holidays.
Yes, well, they already most of them already start with the practical work before that.
Okay.
So they are supposed to start thinking about what kind of project they might be interested in, basically from day one on.
Mm-hmm. And do they get, I mean, is that something they come up with themselves, or is it something that the program helps with, or how do you come up with?
Yes, so a little bit of both. So on the one hand, we teachers, of course, have our areas of expertise and interest, and the students are encouraged to knock at our doors, and we happily share our suggestions for projects. On the other hand, the students are absolutely free and welcome and encouraged to develop project ideas of their own. And then again, they have to knock at our doors and bring forward these projects. And then it's our sometimes difficult job to bring you down to planet Earth and to decide, yes, this is doable within 1 year and with the financial means, or perhaps you should think about a different project. So roughly 50% of our students develop ideas of their own, and roughly 50% take on ideas forwarded by us teachers.
And this is also, if you go on to the next slide, you can see that the entire second year is devoted to a thesis project. I mean, and most of our programs, most programs in Europe, I believe, your thesis is 30 credits, so it's 1 semester. But here you get to spend the entire year.
Exactly right.
What's the thinking behind that?
The thinking behind that is that it is much more rewarding, both for the students and for us teachers, if students have the opportunity to really dig deep into a project. Particularly when it comes to animal behavior, it usually takes almost a year to collect scientifically meaningful data, which often enough then really at the end turn into a real scientific publication. But it's just more rewarding if you have the time to go in deep.
Mm-hmm. What did you think? I mean, you've done yours. Have you started yours now?
I am doing mine currently.
Yeah, currently doing yours. So what did you do yours?
So I worked at an intersection between animal behavior and like ecology conservation. So I ended up working with a research group outside of Linköping University because I really wanted to work with fisheries. And so we were working on testing the specific device that prevents dolphins from being caught in fishing nets. And going off of what Matthias said, I do think it's incredibly important to have a full year to work with, because especially that first summer, because we start the thesis around May, June, and that first summer is really, really important to collect a lot of data. So in June, I spent about 3 weeks in the field, just collecting information and obviously like preparing everything and getting the ball rolling. And without the full year, it would have been so difficult to have enough data to then write a thesis on. So I really think that the 60 credit thesis is a big important thing about like preparing you for whatever you do after.
And what have you started doing?
Yeah, so my thesis is about animal cognition. And right now I am doing a study on how dogs are able to reorganize information. And currently I am training dogs on recognizing 2 different colors. And they will then be able to essentially navigate through a maze using this knowledge. And then we're adding more obstacles into this as we go. I'm also going to do this exact same thing on children between 3 and 5 years of age. And this is a study that builds upon a study by my supervisor that he did on macaques.
Oh, so this sounds like it's so much fun. So basically you get to hang with dolphins, you get to hang with dogs, and that's your part of your thesis work. Yeah. We have a few more examples of thesis projects so that you can see what other students have chosen to do.
Exactly. So this is just supposed to illustrate what our students did thesis-wise in recent years. So one student chose to go to Zimbabwe to record and analyze the vocal repertoire of lions. One followed released wolf pups in Siberia. So they were radio tagged, these little animals. So that was a reintroduction project because the population there was almost extinct. So again, very applied.
Very much conservation
she
aspect.
followed up how successful these pups managed to get accustomed to the wild. Another spent a very pleasant summer on the beach of the North Sea, observing harbor seals. Can we have the next slide, perhaps?
Yeah.
Thank you. Then these are a couple of examples for projects that were based in a zoo. And the left one is a wonderful example for testing a tracking device that is supposed to see how lynx in the wild are doing. But first, of course, you have to test such a novel device in a zoo setting. And only this knowledge then allows us, yes, now it's the time to capture wild lynx, to prepare them with these collars, to release them, and then to follow them remotely. And yeah, we can offer project with all kinds of zoo animals.
Elephants and seals.
Elephants, fur seals, and on whatever topic the students are interested in.
Is there another slide?
Yes.
Yeah, one more? Oh, yeah. So you
this is
see
more with pet and farm animals. So if you're more interested in that part of the animal world. So one study found quite convincingly that stressed dog owners have stressed dogs and vice versa.
a bit like stressed parents have stressed children.
There you
again.
go.
Yeah.
And well, again, if you know about this, then perhaps you can take measures to improve the welfare, in that case, of both
Yeah.
the dog and the dog owner. Also assessing dog emotions using a non-invasive, fairly novel method is of course a good thing to have. And very applied again at dairy farms. You know that newborn calves are immediately separated from their mothers. And depressingly often these newborn calves then have difficulties to learn to suckle from a calf bottle. And one student looked into how to make it easier for the newborn calves to accept such bottles. So again, a very applied aspect
Yeah.
to help both the survival and the welfare of the animals, and as a nice byproduct, the profit of the farmer.
Yeah. Okay. Was that the last slide? Or is
I
that another?
think so.
Oh, we got. Oh,
Okay.
look, 'cause cognition and personality in chicken.
Yeah.
I think these are. So again, you have the effects of pesticides, which again you're looking at the ecology side of
Exactly, yeah.
of animal welfare.
Yeah.
This sounds great. Sounds like I want to do the program now. Let's talk a bit more. We're going to open up for questions shortly, but let's talk about what it's like studying here. What's the workload? What have you felt?
For
that
me, it's been quite a good balance actually between our workload and our own free time. I don't feel like I have been overworked in that sense. I don't feel like I've had to stay up really late and not had the time to take care of myself. So I think it's been really well balanced.
Yeah, I remember it being well balanced as well. I don't think I have anything to add.
But I think it's important to be structured, I suppose,
Yes.
and that's how you do end up
for
with
sure.
with this free time by being
If
structured.
I may add, I'm happy to hear that from the students or former students. On the other hand, we really want to emphasize that this is a full-time job.
Yeah.
So studying at the master's level, let's say we do not encourage to have a job on the side or to read other programs or courses on top of that. That would really make your progress in the program suffer.
Yeah, you should really, expect to do 40 hours per week. So I think this having free time and the workload being well balanced, it will be that way if you plan and if you're structured. The good thing about doing the courses one after the other is that you can focus on one course, but then it does need to be assessed. And I think everything starts pretty quickly after the program starts. So don't sit back and think, oh yeah, great, I have lots of time, because after 4 weeks, you'll be assessed on that course. So I think this is an important point to make. What about student life in Linköping? I can start with you. You're still a student.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good. I have not been part of the organizations, like the ones that actually organize the events. I have gone to some events. I think that Linköping has a pretty active student life. We have a lot of different groups that do a lot of different things. I feel like there is something for everyone to get into if you have a certain interest. And yeah, I think it is very good.
Yeah, I would say Linköping University has a lot to offer, but it's also important to know what to look for. It's unlikely that it will all come to you. Obviously, there's specifically 2 student associations that focus a lot on international students, and that's the ESN, the Erasmus Student Network, and the International Student Association. And those will be everywhere when you come to Linköping University as an international student. They will be at the welcoming. They will try to add you to newsletter groups. They will send you lots of notifications, and they have a lot of events. But I would definitely recommend not to stop there. That is really nice, and they do very good activities, and it's a very easy way to make friends, because most of the time there's hundreds of students coming from outside and everyone's in the same situation, so it's easy to connect with other people. But I would definitely recommend not to stop there, because Linköping University, there's dancing associations, there's music associations, there's bands, there's the role-playing games associations. There's an association for anything that you could think of. So I would highly recommend that you look into it. There will be a little bit of a language barrier, but generally my experience was that Swedish people are very open, and any student is very excited if you're very excited to participate in the student association. So there is a lot happening, but you also have to look a little bit, I would say.
And a final question before we open up for questions from you guys. The ideal student. So what kind of mentality and academic background does a person need to have to succeed in the program?
So formally, a student needs a degree that is biology related. And on top of that, that should include some credit points, of course, in animal biology or ethology, and also a few credit points in physiology, because the full name of the program is Applied Ethology and Animal Biology, and we need to cover that as well. As regard to the type of student that we are looking for is, I think one of the main characteristics is they should be curious. They should be willing, having this urge, I want to know, I want to understand this. And that, of course, ideally should be accompanied by the openness to ask questions. I mean, here in Sweden at university, we have this wonderfully flat hierarchies. We are on first name basis with students, and So, and not from students coming from certain countries or areas of the planet are not accustomed to that. That we are approachable, that we actually appreciate students asking questions. So we'll never consider a student asking a question, oh, he doesn't know that, or she, but rather, oh, this student is interested. They want to understand something. So it's very encouraged to ask questions, to be interactive, to be proactive. And yeah, this curiosity is a thing.
And the curiosity. And a good command of English, which you both demonstrate.
Yes.
But it's all in English. There's all the writing, all the reading, all the communication, it's all in English. So you do need to be comfortable and be able to have an advanced level. So we do have IELTS is 6.5, and that's there for a reason. So you really, really need to think about that. Right. We're going to open up and see if we have any questions from you guys.